emprendedor dentro de ti.
Descubre tu crecimiento personal.
Encuentra la motivación para obtener el mayor éxito.
Alcanza la libertad financiera para ser tu propio jefe.
Esto es
Sé el Jefe.
Sé el Jefe con Héctor RC.
Okay, my man. I'm all yours. How are you?
I'm awesome. With a little, to be honest, with this new parenting coming thing, a little bit nervous. I'm fine.
So with me, so after my book, so now that I have the book part of it behind me and working with Forbes here in the United States, I've created what it's called Hill Takers Academy. Okay, Hill Takers Academy, and what it is, my book is Impossible Hill, and it's the whole caption, the premise behind the book is how to make the impossible possible for yourself. And my whole goal for everyone is to light that fire within the person who doesn't think that success was ever meant for them, that they feel that their place in society, they somehow pigeonhole themselves into this place in society where they feel that they're always just going to be a 9 to 5. And when they dream about someday being an entrepreneur, but they really never think it's for them. And
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So my goal is to try to change that mindset, to say, look, I'm living proof that is possible. I did it and you can too. I didn't come from a family with money. I mean, we grew up very middle class, 7 kids in a small little community, little rural town, right? So, but make no mistake about it, it's hard work and it takes a lot of discipline and sacrifice and accountability along the way. But when you do those things and if you keep pressing forward and never give up, great things happen. Now, are you going to build a company to the size of what I was able to? Look, you know what? Let's just be honest. That's a stretch, right? If you had told me when I was a 10-year-old boy that someday I'm going to own a $200+ million company, I would tell you, you've lost your mind, right? Because that was so far. You said earlier that your first goal was $4,000 a month, right? I mean, keep in mind, my first job paid me $16,000 a year. That was my salary, right? But on the back end of that was opportunity. So it's great setting goals and then having milestones along the way. It's so critical. But I would love to. I got a lot of feedback from when I was on the Clubhouse presentation for the hour. I didn't know how it was going to go because I didn't know how the translation would go. I've done with my business. Clearly, I have clubs in Mexico and I have clubs in foreign markets where it's not English speaking. And before they've had translators, sometimes you see it in government situations where the people in the audience have a headset on and I have a headset. So yeah. I'm speaking in English and they're hearing it in Spanish and vice versa. And it worked really well, right? So I wasn't sure I didn't know how it was going to be received from the audience at Clubhouse, but I received a lot of really, really kind accolades from people that found me on Instagram and then responded to me also in Clubhouse, just saying that it was inspiring for them. So I would love to somehow leverage myself, and I couldn't begin to know how to do it. That maybe you and I could somehow leverage a partnership with each other in Latin America for, like I'm going to Puerto Rico here in April, the middle of April with Forbes. And Forbes
Riley or Forbes the magazine?
The magazine.
The magazine. Oh, good. Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So, but Forbes the magazine is that's a huge organization. The Forbes, I created the Forbes Masterclass. I'm a Forbes Masterclass instructor. All right. So I created a class for entrepreneurship, franchising, and I cover so many different things. How to light the fire within, how to get your team to walk on fire for you, right? Having that passion. So I cover a lot of different things with the Forbes class, but at the end of the day, the Forbes Master Class is what set up my book, and now which is what sets up my consulting. I was consulting before I ever was working with Forbes.
What is the name of the book? It's out. I'm gonna buy it right
now. Yeah, it's called Impossible Hill. Impossible Hill, and it is on it's on Amazon right now. It's it was on the bestseller list. It was number one. It was actually the number one bestseller in all 12 categories. So pretty amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm buying it. I'm buying it immediately as soon as I finish this conversation.
Right now it's only it was released on February 17th, and so it's on right now it's only ebook. But if you wait about a week, then it's going to be released on in hardcover. So right now it's only ebook. But if you like I said, if you wait a week, you can get it right on. You get a paperback.
I'll have it in my library.
Yeah. I always, for me, I'm old school. I like to read. I don't like to look at a Kindle.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would love to say the same thing, but it's been, I think, 2 years since I started acquiring a new way I got kind of like addicted to audiobooks because it allowed me to keep doing other things like training or doing my physical or my other activities, non-meetings and stuff that need require my attention. And I'm devouring books a week because with the ebook, with the listening, so I got that. I used to read, but then I realized time is precious. So a book is good to relax. I use books more to relax. And I use ebooks more to keep learning constantly, as a learning process.
I admire that. That's a great discipline that you have.
Yeah, it's if it wasn't because of that, I don't know what I'd be today. Because back when in South America, Latin America, back in the day, before I actually started tapping into this space, I had no mentor, no coaches, had no experience, nobody that would tell me what to do, how to do it. I just had a fucking immense drive to get a better life. It was insane.
Isn't that funny, Hector? That that when you start with nothing, you have this insatiable drive, and it's almost because people say, Peter, how are you so driven, so motivated? And I did it from sheer paranoia. I didn't want to go back to poor. You know what I mean? So I would give it whatever it took. I would work, and I never paid attention to how long I was at work. Because number one, I loved what I was doing because I knew that what I was doing it for myself. I knew it was my dream to catch. It wasn't anyone else's, it was mine. And I had to own it. So and I always say, you know what, I would rather die on my own sword than die on the sword of someone else. So I would, for me, there was just no plan B. I ran my business with a sense of paranoia, like I was the underdog all the time. And that served me well.
That what you just said, no plan B, is one of the key points I always teach my students. You cannot have plan B, because if you have plan B, you already decided that the plan A is gonna fail.
Yeah,
that is key. And I absolutely how do you say in English, relate to what you're saying.
Yes.
It's insane. Now I want to say that you are incredibly inspiring. At some point, one of the things that Clubhouse brought me was back to a place that I pride myself into the fact that I think I humble myself a lot in the past 5 years to keep learning from people, because ego can be messy. If I know everything, I'm doing okay, I can always improve. And Clubhouse even brought me even more into that state, because there's so many amazing people that maybe you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And listening to you, I'm doing okay. I do okay. We do really good with all the companies. And I was like, just in my own universe, listening to this guy. I need to meet this guy. And I immediately thought, I want in a magazine. I want to talk to you. I just want to hang out with you.
I would love to work closer with you. For me, my story, it resonates with people. And I think what resonates with people is because it's relatable, because everyone And I feel bad for someone who doesn't, but everyone should have a dream, right?
Yes.
Everyone should have a dream. And whatever that dream looks like, it's all different for all of us, because some of us aspire to be different things. But for me, it happened to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be my own boss, right? I wanted that freedom, that of no limits as to what I could do with my business and my work and my livelihood. And so that is what drove me. And I think that is universal around the world. It doesn't matter. And I realize that as I travel around, my businesses are in 28 countries.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not involved with them, I'm not involved with them anymore, other than I'm on the board. But I'm so blessed and thankful of the 15 years of being able to travel worldwide and see, people with the same dreams, different cultures, but the same fundamental dreams, with a lack of understanding of really what it takes to win, what it takes, just the sacrifice that it takes to win. And I talk about it all the time. I don't know if you know much about Spartans. Have you ever seen the movie 300? 300?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Spartan.
Yeah, I used to be a nerd. I'm still am, and I used to know the Greek mythology, so I know everything about it.
Yeah, right. So Spartan, what I love about the Spartan discipline is every day they train for war. They train for battle every day. Now, do they go to battle every day? Of course not. But they know that if danger ever came to their doorstep, that they were going to be prepared, right? And that is the same mindset in business. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I'm consulting with people and they say, hey, I'm going to be in business. And they come to me with their business plan. And their business plan, it's really sketchy. But the biggest missing piece is they have no idea the journey that's in front of them. So if you don't have that mental toughness, like you and I both had, if you don't go into battle with the mindset of, look, here's what I can guarantee you. There's going to be moments of uncertainty. There's going to be moments of that are going to be emotionally, physically, and financially draining on you.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for that, if you're not anticipating it, then you're thinking that it's not meant for you. But I try to get them in the mindset of saying, look, it's going to come. So don't be surprised when it does. It will come. And the key point is, how do you remain poised? How do you keep your poise, take a deep breath, and make a rational decision to press forward? And it's for me, forget about raising the capital. Let's get your head right first, and then let's go into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's how they say, all of this life we chose, at the end, after a long road and a lot of struggle, it is a good life. And that's what we're after. But it's super freaking hard. Yeah. It's insanely hard. We were pretty good, 15 years after, we were pretty good. But it's hard. You need to make that decision. And
I will tell you that, and just from when we have very similar journeys of, it's hard work. We can both agree, and it's not easy, and we learn from those moments of difficulty. We learn from that uncertainty. I say it all the time. Anyone can run a company with the wind at their back. It's how do you perform in times in challenging times. And that's where people's character is defined. Can they remain poised? Can they make good decisions, good choices during very tough times that affect a lot of people? So they can, and that's why it's so important to have that poise. Not only how people look at you, but you don't want to be in a leadership. And I talk about this all the time when I'm talking to CEOs or people that are department heads or whatnot. If you've got the personality where you're always flying off the handle, you're always yelling, you're saying things, you're yelling, you're kicking things, you've just got this aggressive behavior about you. If that's your management style, it just screams of unprofessionalism, it's and maturity. And so I try to tell people, look, and I believe me, I hear it from everyone. I hear people say, oh, Peter, I was just born this way. It's my Italian blood. It's my Irish blood. It's my Latin blood. And I tell them, bullshit. It's just not true. It's lack of discipline. And so I try to help people find the discipline in every aspect of their life, number one. And then the second part of it is to leverage that great discipline that you have into areas that are really going to help you level up in life. I mean, don't waste that great discipline. Use it into areas in your life that are going to where you can level up in so many different ways. And not only benefits you, but it benefits everyone around you as well. It's an interesting life that we're in, an interesting career path that we chose. And what people don't understand is, for me, like I spent my life in the health and fitness space, but since in the last 5 to 8 years of even running this huge company, I had diversity. So, I own a luxury camp in the Serengeti in Tanzania. So
I heard that. That seems super interesting. That's true. You mentioned that.
I own a lodge in the Serengeti. I'm in the music business. I own a music festival. It's a 3-day music festival in Minneapolis. I'm in the CBD oil business. I'm in the manufacturing business. So I'm diversified in a lot of areas. And the reason I share that with you is the same discipline that you have, I could pull you out of what you're doing right now. And just the mental toughness, the discipline that you have, and the mindset that you have, I could put you in just about any environment and you're going to thrive. You're going to immediately work your way past the field and you're going to operate in that top percentage of people who get it, who get what it takes to win. And they have the discipline and they hold themselves accountable to get to that goal. And that's where a lot of people fail. Everyone has the ability to dream, but very few have the ability to execute on their dream. Why? Because they don't have the discipline, they don't have accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Damn.
Right? It's so true, right?
I don't want to be one of those, kind of like fun but dude, it's really, really nice listening to you.
And I'll tell you another thing from a guy that's done it. I don't have any idea how much money you have, but I have a pile, right? $100+ million, right? So that's more money than anyone could ever spend, okay, ever. So, but I will tell you that the joy, your perfect life, your bliss, is not come from the money. And when you have it all, that's when you realize. And for me, it's unfortunate that I didn't really realize it, until I was probably 50. And now when I look at it, it was never, the money was great. The money is a byproduct of hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a byproduct of innovative thinking, hard work, surrounded by great people. That's the combination that will yield those great results. But I find beyond the money, the real joy came from getting up every day with purpose, and the whole idea of holding yourself to a standard, holding yourself accountable, having the discipline is what holds you accountable. Okay. There is no accountability if you don't have discipline. It's that simple, right? Because you talk yourself out of everything, right? There are certain things in our lives and certainly in our business that are what I call your non-negotiables, that are just off the table. It's not open for discussion. These are the things that I need to do because I know that when I do these things, the chances of my outcome are greater. And it's that mindset that for me that I really miss, that I really enjoy. And like back here right now, I was just talking to a group of entrepreneurs a couple of weeks ago. There was 30 entrepreneurs, and all these guys had little companies that were starting to grow. Okay, they were beyond the idea phase. They were in the phase of creating cash flow, and actually the companies were growing, right? So, and they were excited about that. And I told them, look, keep doing what you're doing. Make sure that you pay attention to what's going on around you, so you're aware of what your competitors are doing. but don't make the mistake I did. Make sure that you enjoy the journey along the way. Make sure that you take the time. And I talk about this in the book. We all have our North Star. Our North Star is, like when you were dreaming, remember when you had that dream and you had a vision of what it is that you wanted to do with your life. And that may have been a grandiose dream, but you set it out there and it was way in the distance, but you knew that's where you wanted to go. Now, the second part of this, setting milestones along the way. So you can see, because in some cases, like for me, it took me 20 years to get to that place. And if I hadn't had milestones along the way, I would have lost interest. I would have gotten discouraged. So it's so important along the way, set milestones. And when you hit those milestones, not only celebrate it with yourself, but celebrate it with your team. It's so important that you do that. It's so important that you celebrate with your team. And it's so important that you share your vision with them so they can see your vision and they can vicariously have the same joy you have, because they know what the accomplishment was. And that's a great thought process, to set a dream, work hard, have great discipline, and then you hit that little milestone, and then you can look back in the rearview mirror and say, see, all of that work paid off. We're here now. And because some people, they don't understand, hard work, you get a reward. Hard work, you get a reward. And it's not guaranteed. Sometimes you still work hard and you still lose, but there's not a better feeling when you work hard and you get rewarded for your efforts. There's nothing better than that. Like you built a great business now, and you can look back and you know exactly what it took to get you where you are. You know why? Because you have perspective. You lived it, because you were the one pulling deep on the oars. It's a beautiful journey that you have.
Absolutely. When you are just starting, or if you're like, when I call it the normal, as a normal person, we tend to minimize or undermine what you can accomplish in 5-10 years. We want things now, but we overestimate what we can accomplish in a month or two. So most people start that they have this dream, or they don't like their life. Maybe they don't even have a bigger dream. They just don't like what they have. And they make the tiniest effort. And after a month, they didn't become millionaires, and suddenly, this is not for me. This is not for me. I'm not Peter. I don't have it. You're too, I don't know, your privileges or my privilege. Because you know what you're talking about. You have that mindset, I don't have it. Boom, back into the.
Yeah, it's because they lack perspective.
Yeah. It's working hard. How would you describe yourself?
Describe myself. I'm hardworking. I'm a hardworking. Yeah. And I would thank my father for that, because I had a front row seat to watching my father get up and work really hard every day. I'm very compassionate. I'm very compassionate for the underdog. And maybe that's because I was an underdog. So I help and I fight for the underdog every day. So I'm a hard worker. I'm compassionate for the underdog. I'm a little bit of a cowboy, meaning that I'm going to give it to you straight, right? I don't mince words. When it's hard, it's hard. When I'm mad, I'm mad. And when I'm happy, I'm happy. I mean, I don't play any games that way, because it's never served me well. All I can be is myself. And as long as I'm myself and authentic, I'm fine with it, because I know my heart is good and I know that my intent is good.
That's awesome. We all know that you built from nothing a 9-figure business, and I believe it's the largest wellness franchise in the world, like something about 5,000 or 6,000 establishments in 28 countries. That's freaking insane.
Yeah.
How do you build that? How did it all start? Well,
it starts, as we talked about, dreaming big. And yet when I started, as I think you and I talked about a little bit earlier, had somebody told me, Peter, believe it or not, one day you're going to build one of the largest wellness companies in the world, I would have said you're crazy. All right. So I set some milestones along the way. I set some big goals in my mind. They were big, lofty goals. But as I started closing in on those goals, I was very disciplined and intentional about knowing I was going to get to that goal and immediately finding my next peak. And I talk about this in my book, Impossible Hill. It's so important that when you're coming up on the top of, on that dream, when you've captured your North Star, it's important that you look for your next star. All right. So you have to get up every day with purpose and drive. And if you have that mindset, you're going to go from having 100 clubs to 500 clubs to 1,000. And you're going to wake up one day and you're going to look around and you're going to say, my gosh, I've created an amazing company, but more importantly, I've pulled some amazing people with me along the way. And that's half of it. Understanding too, that I know that I've had a blessed life without question, but I've also had such an amazing life of all the experience I've had and all the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, because winning in business, it's a team sport. And I couldn't have done it without some amazing people. And I feel that many of them are friends of mine still today. So it was a great journey. So I never take any of it for granted. So, you know, how did I do it? By always dreaming and always believing in myself.
That was beautiful. And you've been in business for 20 years, over 20 years.
Over 30
years. 30 years, over 30 years, building many multi-million-dollar businesses. And we were talking before about, you know, in my case, I shared with you one of my one defining moment. Well, we know how it is. I mean, we struggle. There's a bunch of them along our life that makes us, you know, correct course. But what would be one defining moment in your life that you would like to share? The one time that experience that made you change completely and made you become the man you are today?
Well, when I just from a business, and I talk about this all the time, hopefully people, and you have to pay attention, because some people miss opportunity that's right in front of them. They don't see it. And for me, I think that in most businesses, there's a flashpoint where you have something, you have an opportunity in front of you, and it's your opportunity to take. So the opportunity is not going to jump in your lap. It's not going to jump in your pocket. You've got to go get it. All right. For me, the first 3 clubs that I built, the first 3 Snap Fitness clubs that I built one in an urban market, so a big city, and it performed at a very high level. Then I built a second one in a mid-sized market, and that club performed really well. The third club I built was in a small town, a town of 3,500 people, one stoplight in the whole town. And it performed the same way. And at that moment, literally, I said to myself, I've got a tiger by the tail here. I've got lightning in the bottle, and it's my opportunity to lose, because I knew that I had a product that resonated with what the people were looking for. I knew that it was scalable. So it was just a matter of me putting together the systems and processes and the people to build an empire. But I knew at that point, my product was validated. It was mine to go chase. And I chased it like a rabid dog.
And the results are here now. That's insane. You know, okay, me personally, I could ask you millions of questions.
But I think, and you know what, Hector, I think what's so important is it doesn't matter. You know, for me, I chase as hard today. You know, my passion runs as deep today as it did when I was 20, right? For whatever I'm doing. And I appreciate the journey so much. I appreciate the challenges with building a company. And so it's never, you're never done. Okay. And people say, you know, work can be fun, right? Work can be fun. Work doesn't have to feel like work. I literally love what I do. I love what we're doing right now. I love doing this, right? I enjoyed hearing your story, right? I loved hearing people's story, because everyone has a story, right? Everyone has one, right?
That is true. And talking about, you know, stories and all of this path, a lot of time has passed in the past. A lot of things that happened in the past 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And one of the things that I think that it's influencing or changing or affecting our businesses a lot is this, the possibility of being with people around the world through internet and social media and all that. Being in business for 30 years, how do you think, what is the impact in your life, on your businesses, the power of social media? I noticed your Instagram, 500,000 followers, and because for some people back in the day, in businesses, it's kind of like, nah, I don't need that, or they don't want to be in social media or using these tools for their advantage or the business advantage. How do you see it, and how all of these have changed your life and your business?
Well, for me, I got into social media after I stepped down as the CEO a couple of years ago. That's when I put my hat in the ring for social media, and I did it only because I personally saw so much inaccuracies in social media. I saw people not telling the full truth about really what it takes to win, and I saw a lot of people. As an example, I talk about this all the time, people standing in front of jets they don't own, Ferraris and Lamborghinis they don't own, fanning $100 bills and saying, give me your money and I'll make you rich, right? It's just a big scam. And some people today are really, really good at this scam. So what I try to do is try to bring light to it. I try to say, look, it's not easy. And the reason it's so important that we share the message about reality is because many people, and I deal with them weekly, that people that they think in their eye, they think they're failing because they're making a comparison between their life and what they see on social media. And I tell them, look, what you're seeing there, it's not accurate. There's a level of
fabricated. Most of it is fabricated.
So I just tell them, look, you've got to understand that you're listening to a false narrative and you believe that that's how it is. So 90% of it is complete BS. And then the other high percentage is completely embellished. Okay. So the whole thing just becomes the big web of inaccuracies. So I just try to tell people, look, like we spoke about earlier, get people in the right mindset to win. Because when you're prepared for strife, when you're prepared for uncertainty, when it comes your way, it doesn't rock your world because you knew it was coming. You are prepared for this moment and you remain calm and you plow through it because you will get through the other side. So get through it with grace and humility and learn and then press forward.
Thank you. That was really great. This interview, I want to publish it with our podcast. It has a lot of listeners, and they're gonna love every second of this. Yeah. We talk about mindset. You mentioned mindset a lot. We were discussing that earlier, and there's this word that you use that we all should have it: dreams. Would you share with us one of your first dreams that you had when you started that you actually accomplished? You reached out and it made you proud that you made it. Okay, I made it.
So I can, and you know what? I just want to back up a little bit, Hector, because dreaming is one thing. Okay, we all want to dream, but what even has to come before dreaming is you have to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then the dream is just a dream. What makes a dream exciting is when you believe that you can do it, right? And when people ask me all the time, hey Peter, how did you do it, or did you ever think you could? I get that question all the time, just about every interview. And had you asked me 35 years ago, hey Peter, do you think you're going to build one of the largest wellness brands in the world? As I told you earlier, I would have looked at you and said, Hector, you've lost. No, I don't think
you're nuts. You're nuts.
I don't think I will. But I would have followed it up by saying, I don't think I'm going to build one of the largest wellness brands in the world, but I know I'm capable of doing it. So that would have been my punchline behind it. I would say, look, because I'm humble. I'm still that boy that grew up in a 2-room schoolhouse whose dad worked hard and he was very humble and kind and gracious. And so for me, I try to say, if somebody says you're going to build one of the largest wellness companies, of course I'm going to say, that's probably not going to happen. I know that I'm capable of doing it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Because the contrary to that would be for somebody to say, Peter, did you ever think you were going to build one of the largest wellness companies in the world? And then I say, yeah, I knew I would. That's just so boastful. That's just not the way that I would want to come off to people. Do you know what I mean? I would rather quietly prepare myself and be prepared to do it, you know.
What is in store for you? You know, people will think, okay, this guy has everything, you know, you accomplish things that most people will never ever even dream about existing. You know, being the #1 franchise creator, wellness franchise creator in the world, that's insane. You know, I have goals and dreams, and that is something I didn't even think about. Yeah. And but what is in store for you? What are your next steps? Well, where are you going with your life in the next years?
I think I'm living, honestly, I think I'm living my best life right now, because I've got perspective and appreciation on what I was able to accomplish, #1. And the appreciation, not only for the amazing experiences that I've had, but just the amazing people that I've had the opportunity to work with. Secondly, the people that have been able to come behind me in the draft of my success and create jobs for themselves. I mean, the learning platform that I provided for all of my department heads and my leadership style, it really, I think, brought the best out of all the people that I had the opportunity to work with. And I've seen many of them take that same discipline and leadership qualities that they learned in my camp to their next job and thrive and do really well. I love it when I see that. And many of them, I still keep in touch with them today, and they're so capable, and they're so smart, and they're so confident, which is what I love. So today, you know, what's my future look like? I think that my calling is to share my story and to think about, I mean, I would love to touch as many lives as possible and inspire as many people as possible to light that fire within, for people to understand that they can make the impossible possible, but they just have to jump. They have to be prepared to make that leap. And so just share my story and consult and help people find the light, a clear path to success.
Thank you, Peter. And I know you have to go, so I want to ask you the last question. What will be your advice for, you know, this interview is going to be published in the Sé el Jefe magazine and all our networks, and for the Hispanic audience, translated in Spanish as well. What would be your advice for those struggling entrepreneurs in the Hispanic market and listening to you, this super successful guy from the States, and that they look up and then they, you know, there's the dream is out there, you know, if somebody can actually get to that level, you know, everything is possible. So what would be your advice to them?
So the advice for the people that are currently entrepreneurs and they're just starting out, or even they're mid-stride, understand the discipline and accountability perspective. Those are 3 really big words. You can't hold yourself accountable without discipline, and without perspective, you don't have the proper mindset, because you may think you're failing, but you're actually doing quite well. So you need to have perspective on just how hard and long that journey is. Now, for the person sitting at home that doesn't think success and dreams are for them, they think prosperity was always meant for the other person. I'm telling this, if you don't take anything from this interview, understand this: anything is possible. Anything is possible. It doesn't matter where you came from and what your circumstances are. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter. You just have to be able to draw a line in the sand and say, look, from this day forward, I'm going to press forward with a different mindset, with discipline, accountability, perspective, and I'm going to dream, and I'm going to dream big.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Peter.
El podcast Sé el Jefe de Héctor Rodríguez Curvelo es dirigido y conducido por Héctor Rodríguez Curvelo y editado por Producciones Sé el Jefe, con base en Suecia. Todos los derechos reservados. Nunca olvides que tú puedes ser quien dirige tu vida. Te esperamos en el siguiente episodio y recuerda, nos vemos en la cima.